In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the true variable data table functionality in Excel. A true variable data table allows us to evaluate how changes to two input variables or to the values of two input variables affect kind of a third output measure. And so in particular, in the Inspired Endeavors example, we want to understand how changes in the price per unit as well as and so what we're saying here is that the price is going to vary between 20 and 40 in increments of 5, and how changes in our forecast for units sold will affect net income. And here our forecast for units sold is varying now from 15,000 to 40,000 in increments of 5,000. In order to create a two-variable data table, we need to set up a very specific structure. And so the first thing we need to do is specify the values that one of our variables can take in the first column. And so here we're going to say that units sold can take on the values of 15,000, 20,000, 25, 30, 35, and 40,000. And this will be the first column of our table. The second column, the top row of our table is going to include the values that our second variable can take. And so in this case, we were told that prices could vary from 20 all the way up to 40 in increments of 5. Okay. And so once we've done this, um, we can begin to create our data table. The next thing, and so because we are in two dimensions, unlike a one variable data table, a two variable data table only allows us to see the value of one output variable. And so in this case, we want to know how net income will vary. And so that's going to be then placed at the intersection of the values for the two variables, the input variables that are changing. Okay, so once we've set up the table, we can go on to perform the have Excel actually create the two variable data table for us. The next thing we have to do is select the entire table, then go to the data tab, in the forecast group, go to the what if analysis button and select data table. And we get this dialog box that comes up. Okay, and so the way to kind of read this, and I've used a little bit of a color coding to remind us what are the row input cell and the column input cell. And so what this is asking is it's saying, please tell me, for for the variable that is organized with its values in a row, what cell should it be plugged into? And so we know that the price per units, each one of these values needs to go into cell B5. And for the variable where we've listed the values in a column, we need to plug each of these values into the cell B4. And so when we press OK, our table then becomes immediately populated with the net income associated with each of these pairs of values. And so to be clear, when I'm looking at a value, this value right here, I'm looking at what is the net income that will be generated if 25,000 units are sold. So let's test that. And the unit price is $30. And we can see here that it's going to be 98 or 22.50. Here we're seeing 2350 just because I kind of rounded. I took away the decimal points, but the values are the same. Okay, so what the two variable data table is doing is for each pair of price and units sold, it is plugging it into cells B4 and B5 and then returning what's in cell B26. We can here again format this so that the label actually shows net income. And remember, your label needs to be placed in quotes. Okay, so now we know that we can see here that if the folks at Inspired Endeavors believe that the sale price that the market can bear is $20, for all of the forecasted demand values, the company cannot make money. On the other hand, once we get to $35 per unit, then the company is profitable for any of the possible forecasts for units sold.